Welcome to Soul Therapy with Chelle. I am Chelle Griffin and I practice as a soul doula. I combine therapeutic knowledge and lived experience with a healthy dose of spiritual exploration. Feel welcome to join me as we learn and grow together, exploring the magic and wonderment of experiencing life on earth as a spiritual being. Welcome back to Soul Therapy with Chelle with part 2 of our conversation with the quite phenomenal Vanessa Leone. Meant to Move is her podcast, and all her details will be in the show notes for you. But for now, join us in the conclusion of our conversation together. You'll get so much out of it.
Well, it's really interesting that you talked about partners, because that thought must have been mind reading. So we're nicely connected right now.
Yeah.
Quite often, the people who I work with, the biggest barrier to doing more are the people around them. And I don't mean this in a negative way. It's not a sabotage thing. But have you noticed that it's much easier when you're catching up with your girlfriends or whoever it might be, and there's some cake in front of you, and you're like, I'm not having that today. And they're like, oh, have some cake. Like, you'll be fine. Have the cake. Like, oh, no, I'm on a diet. I'm eating well. I'm not going to have the cake. No, have the cake. Have the cake. Don't get me wrong. I love cake. Cake is important to have. I'm not anti-cake. I'm using this as an example that the people around you, while they're intending to make you included, it's actually very hard then to resist that, because number one, then you feel like you're not a part of the group. And you have to use your willpower to resist. You have to physically push against resistance from the people who love you the most, people who want to help you. And if we can have that conversation with the people who support us the most, who are around us the most, to help us enforce our own standards, it makes life so much easier. My partner is incredibly helpful with this, like incredibly helpful. So I, with my hashies, I try to reduce my gluten intake just because it's just a bit inflaming. Yep. And some weeks I just, I just want to eat every type of pasta, all of the different breads, all of it. Like, I just want it. My Italian heritage takes over, and I'm like, it's very comforting, right? And he'll ask me, he's like, you've had gluten this week already. Do you want to do this? Like, are you sure? Like, is this a conscious decision that you're making, or is this you're tired and you want comfort? Yeah. And just having that person there who's aligned with your goals, like your health, your needs, reminding you, or just like, it's just a simple question. Is that what you actually want? And then I have to make that decision. Am I going to break my standard? And it's okay to occasionally, for sure. But am I going to break my standard? Am I going to break the promise to myself? Am I going to break my promise to, do some kind of movement for the day, or whatever it might be? Like, those conversations with people are super important. And this is a really big one for the clients who want to change, and who sometimes have the people around them aren't on board with that change, or aren't necessarily helping that change. And I think that conversation is really helpful. And obviously, coming from your side of things, like, you would know really well how to coach people into having those conversations with. I'm definitely not as equipped to deal with that, but I know that that's definitely a challenge for a lot of people, is that when they try to set these standards for themselves, it might be like, I used cake because it's a very easy example, but, going for a walk every morning or something like that, even if it's just for 10 minutes. If your partner is just sitting there on the couch, or, they don't really care, it's very hard to pull yourself away from that. But even if they come with you every now and then, or even if they say, no, you need to go, like, this is my time to do my thing for you, your walk, like, yeah. Do you really want to miss out on that today? Just that little bit of awareness or that little bit of support makes a huge difference in setting those movement goals. And I think, I see that as a trainer, which is why people come to a trainer and they get some success, because they have that person in their corner. They have the supporter going, yeah, did you do your walk today? Or did you do whatever? Like, tell me if you've done the things that we have agreed that are really useful for you to do. But that relationship is quite hard because, again, if my client doesn't want me to push back on them, that's, there's definitely going to be a few clients out there who I've been like, hey, you said you were going to do this.
Yeah.
Have you done the things? And then I just don't hear from them again. And it is scary to face your own stuff, you know what I mean? Like your own hesitations about why you potentially don't do the positive things in your life, for sure. So
And if they're not getting that support at home, I think that's an essential part of the wanting to shift, having that conversation with your person, your family, your partner, your parents, siblings, and just explaining to them, this is actually really important to me. I really need your support and encouragement. If I show resistance to going out, please don't encourage me to give up.
Yep.
Say these key phrases. Remind me of my standards. Remind me of my bigger picture, my why. Why am I doing this? And then, like, your partner doesn't have to be on board with participating with you, but if they're aware of how important this is, they can put their own feelings aside, because often they're feeling confronted and their own lack is being highlighted, and they're making that very personal about their choices. And there's potentially shame spirals going on for them internally. They're not yet ready to join you.
Exactly.
They've got their own journey they have to go on before they can join you. But when they do join you, like, celebrate that and really lean into that companionship and encouragement, because that's their little endorphin hit that they need, or dopamine hit, and that gets them going and fires them up as well. And I just think, these conversations that we don't have, these little micro steps of success, setting ourselves up well. And I know I've personally been guilty for it. My husband has been so diligent, gets up, goes for a run with my son, then on alternate days goes for a walk, and he's like, you coming? I'm like, I haven't laid my stuff out. I've got all the excuses in the world. And I'm just wasn't where he was. Yep. Then recently we went on a camping trip. I walked every single day with my girlfriends. He stayed in bed. I'm like, what's wrong with us? We're not aligned. We needed a rest. That was okay. I needed time with my girlfriends. I wanted to be in nature. I was in my happy place. It was fun. It wasn't exercise. And I love how you refer to it as movement rather than exercise.
Yeah, I think the framing of it is really important, because you don't have to go out and go for a walk. Like, I've got clients who will chuck on like a YouTube and like dance, do like a little Zumba dance in the living room, and we forget that play is so vital to our vitality, like our actual joy, and dance, or free move body expression, whatever you want to call it, is something that humans have literally done since their existence. It's been part of tribes. It is part of pretty much every cultural foundation in the world. They have some sort of dance expression, and we're losing that. We're literally losing that. We're losing these connections that make us human, that allow us to express our body, our emotion, whatever it might be. If you don't dance, it's like I'll put on different music and go for the walk. You know, if I feel, I won't swear, but if I feel really shit, I just, you know, I'm like, I grew up, sounds funny, I grew up listening to heavy metal because my uncle was in a heavy metal band. I used to go watch him when I was a child. If I'm feeling angry, I tell you, there's nothing better for me than some like screaming people in my ears. But I don't need, exactly, I don't need screaming people in my ears all the time. And literally tomorrow I'm doing a practice class for a charity fundraiser event I'm doing at a women's gym. And the theme of the class is fitness through the decades. And the reason why is because the gym that they're at has, you know, multiple generations there. It's Gen Z, Gen X, you've got boomers, you've got everybody all in there. And the music expression that I am using in this class, because it's a predominantly move to music based class, is so entertaining. And honestly, like I'll put on this playlist and I can't help but feel like uplifted and actually desiring to move my body. And that's another like thing that's really easy to tap into, is like, I don't know very many people who don't like some form of music. Find the type of music that makes you feel good. If you're having a hard day, put that key piece of music on, the one that you know is going to, this is a bit uplifting. Okay, even if I'm just in the kitchen and I'm just like kind of moving to it, you've done more than just sat on your couch and scrolled. You know what I mean? That's what that Slowgress is, and 100% you'll feel 10 times better listening and bopping along to whatever song you like than sitting and scrolling, most likely. So I think opportunities for, you know, for that expression in movement are so cool.
Oh, I love that. I'm curious, Vanessa, how did you land in this profession? How was this I'm a big fan of like sliding door moments, like pivoting, life-changing experiences. Was there something that happened to propel you into this, working in this field in this way? Over to you.
Thank you. Yes, I suppose. I mean, I have always movement's my language. Essentially, I was probably more my language than words. I've always moved my body, and so when I'm definitely a high achiever, perfectionist, I went straight to my exercise science degree, straight out of university. And a lot of people always told me that I couldn't do things. And I'm a real pain in the ass and decided to prove a lot of people that I can do things, which makes sense as undiagnosed ADHD. Back when I figured out I was ADHD a couple of years ago now. But essentially, I suffered pretty greatly under the pressure of my own mind. I wanted to push myself, but I was also so fearful of not achieving the things that I wanted to achieve. Crippling anxiety and depression all through my final year in high school, and crippling anxiety once I finished my university degree. So I finished top 2 of my degree and got accepted for a scholarship to do a research thesis. It's the most stupid research thesis in the world. I thought I wanted to work with athletes. And so I won't even tell you the title. I get to my very first day of testing and everything just fails. Like quite literally, my research supervisor, who the year before gave me free rein while I did my work placement, I was very independent, was completely micromanaging me. And this first day of testing was a disaster. And I remember having a 45-minute panic attack. I sat in my car and all my muscles had seized. So I was holding onto my steering wheel, and like I was actually sore for days after this panic attack because I didn't even think I was breathing. Like, who knows? I was like, I remember seeing the time and then blackness, and then literally kind of coming together about 45 minutes later going, whoa. I took the next day off, stubbornly tried to go back into my research thesis the day after, and being like on the cusp of tears, like pretty much straight away. So I was like 20 at this stage. And I remember going to see, I think she was a counselor, and, she's like, you've got anxiety, these kinds of things. And I was like, okay. And I remember kind of sitting myself at home going, so you're anxious about things that you can't control. You need to sort that out. Like, you just need to sort it out. And quite literally, like, I think it was less than a month later, I was on a plane to Canada. So I decided in my head, this is what happens when you're a 20-year-old trying to figure out your own problems. But
go to Canada.
If I put myself in a situation where I didn't know anybody, I had absolutely no control over anything predominantly. I just have to learn to sort myself out. And it did help. It obviously did not solve my problems, because you come back and you've still got, your world. But it did teach me a lesson in the fact that anxiety is something that I can control, and it is something that I manifest internally. And that was pretty life-changing for me. And once I kind of realized that, when I did start to feel those things, it like I was able to manage it much better. And, after that kind of episode, I came back, I was still maybe a little bit anxious, but like I don't have panic attacks. I'm not an anxious person. I don't have depressive thoughts. And that experience, I think, taught me empathy for, feelings and emotions and things like that. And I've always just been a very inquisitive person. So when I came back from Canada, I got a job in the fitness industry, something that I said to myself that I didn't want to do, because I had told myself that I was smarter than just being a personal trainer, which was ridiculous. And I started doing personal training, and I was like, I know nothing. Like, I know absolutely nothing about human bodies. I know nothing about people. I know nothing about bodies. I'm going to figure out what to do, because no one gave me a book about this. University didn't prepare me. No one knows what they're talking about. How do I find some answers?
Wow. That is a journey. And to discover that kind of insight that you can control your anxiety, that you also are the manifester of it at the same time, and manifesting that in a physical expression, to discover that awareness of yourself in your 20s is just brilliant. Of course, you're the high achiever. But as you were sharing that, I just had in the back of my mind going, you did the runaway to Canada to really test yourself. That's I'm gonna start at 0, and I'm gonna go and do 7 days a week of like high intensity aerobics.
Which is what I would do physically, actually, at the time. I don't necessarily recommend that for people. But it's funny because, like, I did that for myself and realized that that's definitely not something that's achievable for most people. And then, I come back around, I'm 37 now, and here's me with this concept of Slowgress. Everything in between is like, I've always had a growth or an open mindset. If someone says, this is the way things are done, the first question to me is, why? Why is that the way that it's done? Yeah. And if they can't give me a good answer, I don't believe them. Like, I'm sorry. That's not the way that things are done. That doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. And I think that questioning helps me. And I think I learned that questioning by questioning myself early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And intuitively knowing, being in the car that day and being with your research leader, and intuitively knowing, I'm not meant to be here. My body is actually physically rejecting this experience. And our body does know. Our body keeps a score. Our mind catches up and makes the meaning. Yes. I have multiple copies. It's brilliant. I got through my master's with that book. It was so good. Really being in that somatic experience of tuning into our body and really hearing what it's telling us, and then forming healthy, positive thoughts from that and choices. That's just our whole episode wrapped up right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That feels like a beautiful way to finish.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much for sharing. I
Happy
love
to.
when my guests are able to share about themselves and their own growth mindset, and how they've gotten to where they are and what challenges they've faced, and adversities, and how they've become stronger and clearer in who you are and how you are in this world. And I really want to honour that and acknowledge that you've shown up for yourself today as well as for the rest of us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's important that, we stop neglecting emotion with motion, movement. It's all a part of us. And I hope that people can open themselves up to that part of them a little bit more.
Beautiful. And Vanessa, you're based in Sydney. How can we find you?
Yeah, so you could definitely follow my Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I run face to face clients. I don't really work much in the online space because I want you to feel your body.
Beautiful.
It's a bit hard to teach that online,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of coaches. So if you're somewhere else and you're like, where do I find a coach that helps me? Let me know. I'll see if I can find one for you where you are. But yeah, I'll give you some information to pop in the show notes if they want to come find me.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks so
again
much for having
showing
me.
up. Yeah, loved having you here. Thank you for showing up for yourself by listening to Soul Therapy with Chelle. Feel welcome to subscribe to my podcast, share the pod with your friends, family, colleagues, and neighbours. And please, if you are willing, I would absolutely love a 5-star review to give my little pod a boost in the algorithms. For further detail on how to work with me, please visit my website, www.chellgriffin.com, or find me on the socials. I hope you'll join me on my next episode. Till then, go gently and intentionally. With care, Chelle.